You've been watching the YouTube videos, you've been reading the books, you've taken the courses, you've bought the planners, you've done the things, and your life still looks the same. It still feels the same. You're still looking for clarity, you still feel stuck, you're still waiting for something to click. And I'm going to tell you this because I wish someone would have told me this years ago. But that thing that you're looking for out there, it's not out there. It never was. It's not in the next book. It's not in the next podcast. It's not in the next video. It's not in this video. If you want a different life, you have to start doing things differently. And for many of us, that looks like, especially those of us women who have achieved some type of success in our careers, what that looks like for us is slowing down long enough to ask ourselves different questions we've never asked ourselves before. Not asking Google, not asking YouTube, not asking ChatGPT, but asking yourself. Yes, yourself. And I'm telling you this because I've been here too. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about in today's video. If you're new here, I'm Erica Prevail, and I talk about lifestyle redesign. I talk about modern work culture and how I cured myself from corporate brain rot. I talk about wellness, and I talk about creativity. Today's tea is apple cinnamon and ginger turmeric. So let's get into it today about your overconsumption of content and looking for those things to change your life. And I get this because I was here too, looking at all of the YouTube videos, Googling about fulfillment and purpose, buying books about habits, highlighting, putting your sticky notes in them, looking for all these things to change your life and really not getting what you thought you would get from it. And I'm not here to say those things are bad because they're not bad at all. Those things can be powerful. They can serve a purpose. They can open a door. They can help you take a certain direction. They can offer you a framework. But the problem, I was going to say I think, but no, I know. The problem is when we use these things as our primary strategy instead of allowing them to be supplemental. We're looking outside of ourselves for all of these answers when the answers that we're looking for are often internally. And I'm going to say this, and I'm going to hold your hand, but you have become an expert at learning other people's answers and have become a stranger to seeking your own. And I know that's hard to hear. It's hard for me to discover. And again, I'm having all these revelations after the fact. And that's why I wanted to have this conversation in particularly, but why I have all the conversations that I've had, because many of these things I've had to figure out on my own along the way. And I just want to share this information with other ambitious women who are in a season of life, of the life you're living, you don't want to live anymore. You want to make changes. You want to shift. You want to pivot in whatever way that looks like for you, but you're still unclear. You don't know what to do next. You're asking questions. You want to know the how, all of the things, and you're seeking them outwardly. You're spending more time learning about other people and their patterns, the way they've done things. You're spending more time learning about other people than you're spending time learning about yourself. And again, I know why that has happened, because in corporate America, we were trained to be this way. Again, especially if you found some level of success in your career, You were trained this way because in corporate America, we were given the roadmap, we were given the best practices, we were given the SOPs, we were given the things to get the job done. Everyone outside of us always had the answer. If it was our boss, if it was our mentors, if it was our sponsors, someone else always had the answers for us. And we sought the answers outwardly in corporate America, and now we're doing the same things in our personal lives, and we still don't have the clarity that we're looking for. We still don't have that perfect system that we're looking for, and it's because you're not. Again, there is nothing wrong with reading the books, watching the videos, buying the planners, taking the courses. There is nothing wrong with that. Like, nothing is wrong with that. Again, the issue comes in when you're using those things as your primary strategy for your life versus turning inward to ask yourself the questions versus looking outside for something else or someone else to give you the answers for your life that only you can make. And what I have come to realize is that there is not one thing outside of yourself. This is my lived experience. There was not one thing outside of myself that's going to give me this one sure, fail-proof answer to my life. And I've been here in my life. I'm not here in my life anymore, but I am coming out of this type of a mindset when it comes to my business. Like, I've been in a season of really having to ask myself different questions in regards to how I want to build this business, how I want to grow this business, the type of women I want to support, how I want to support women, how I want to serve women. I've had to ask different questions because what I'm building is not like, again, this copy and paste way of building a business. So when I was looking outwardly to all of these business frameworks and doing this and doing that, it wasn't working for me because it's not aligned with how I am building. So a lot of things I've had to come to realize is probably just going to take me a little bit longer because I'm not following this copy and paste approach to building business. And I wanted to have this conversation with you because I feel like so many women are looking for this copy and paste approach to building the lives and designing the type of lives that you desire. And it just isn't going to work because it's not yours. It's not for you. And again, nothing is wrong with resources. Nothing is wrong with the books. Nothing is wrong with the podcast. Nothing is wrong with watching videos like these. But when you've gotten to a place when these things are the first thing that you're reaching for, the first thing that you're looking towards for answers, instead of looking within, I think that's where the perpetual stuckness comes in and the long seasons of not having clarity. And it's because you're looking outward. And I get it. It's easy to consume content, can read the books, take the courses, buy the planners, listen to the podcast. It's easy to do that because it feels like progress when you're doing those things. But when you keep consuming instead of acting or moving, that's when you're going to continue to stay stuck. The shift happens. And again, it happened for me for sure in my life. That's why I can have these conversations. But now I'm having this same revelation in my business. But the shift happens when you start to look inwardly. asking, because we're all different individuals. Yes, we have a lot of things in common as human. We have a lot of lived experiences as ambitious women, especially in corporate America and having some level of success in our careers. We have a lot of similar lived experiences, but we are still individuals with individual needs, individual desires, individual visions for the way that we want to live our lives. So we have got to get more curious. You know, I like to use that word. We have to get curious. We have to ask ourselves different questions above that surface level. Well, how do I do this? Or should I quit my job? Or how did she do it? Or like, we have to get beyond those surface level questions. And again, I get it. I get it. I get it. I get it. Like, I know, because I was there too, that we've trained to ask these surface level questions and stay there. We're trained to look outwardly for these answers, but I'm not going to leave you stuck. I'm going to give you some examples of how to ask yourself some deeper questions to then get to the answers that are the right answers for you, that only you can answer. That'll start unraveling some of the things that you're looking for outwardly and allow you to hopefully start taking some aligned action towards those things. So, for example, like I just rambled off, I have these written down because I want to say these to you clearly. So instead of asking like, well, what's my next move or what should I do next? Start asking, what am I noticing about myself right now? You see how that changes? Like, instead of asking that surface level, like, what should I do next? Or what should be my next move? You're asking, what am I noticing about myself right now? It's turning that question inward. And sometimes it's going to be hard, especially if you've never asked yourself these types of questions before. It's going to be hard to ask yourself these questions, but don't run away from it, because when you start getting curious about these questions, you start looking inwardly about yourself, things are going to start to shift. And it's going to become easier for you to go a level deeper than these surface level questions. So here's another one. This is a question, I've talked about this a lot, asking yourself, well, should I quit my job? I'm never on here telling people to quit their job. Yes, quitting the job was a part of my story, but that is a very personal and individual decision. Sometimes the answer is yes, but again, only you can ask yourself that. So instead of asking, should I quit my job? Ask yourself, what am I hoping that quitting my job will solve? Again, you see how that's a totally different question. How should I quit my job? Should I do it now? Should I do it later? And ask, what am I looking for quitting my job to solve? That's a much deeper question, because I've said this in one of my videos that went viral. It was something that I had to realize for myself. It's like, if you're not doing this deeper internal work and asking yourself these questions, you're just quitting a job, going from another job, like, where you go, there you will be. So sometimes, yes, it is the job. We all know that. I don't have to go into that. We know there are toxic work environments. We know there are corporate spaces that are misaligned. We know that. But it also asks yourself something deeper of you to ask that internal question about, what if I quit my job? What am I looking for that to truly solve? And when you answer that question for yourself, again, that's going to open up a bigger answer for you to start moving towards. Instead of asking, why do I feel stuck? Ask yourself, what am I outgrowing? What no longer feels aligned for me in this season of my life? There's a different question there. Instead of asking, I don't know what I want right now. Ask yourself, how do I want to feel? I've told my story about this a million times about when I went on my sabbatical and, healed my mind and body, and I was ready to go back into corporate America. Yes, I got really clear on the type of environments I wanted to be in corporate America and how I wanted to use my skills, my gifts, my talents. But I got clear on how did I want to feel in my body, because I think we ignore a lot what our body gives us signs about when we walk in certain environments and our bodies are giving us signals and we just ignore it and keep moving on. We have to start paying attention to that, becoming aware, and just note it. Note when our bodies are giving us those signals. Instead of asking, how do I fix this? I'm sure you've asked yourself that question before. Instead of asking, how do I fix this? Ask, what is this season of my life asking of me? I've had to ask myself that from a business standpoint. Like, how do I fix this part of my business? How do I do this, and this in my business? But I'm having to ask myself in business, what is this type of business that I desire to build asking of me? And how is that going to ask of me to show up differently? You see how that's a much different question than just like, how do I fix this? What do I do? So again, if you need to rewind any of these or pause the video right here and, write some of these questions down for yourself, feel free to do so. And this is a thought that just came to me. If these questions are something that you want in like a resource guide or something like that, let me know down in the chat and maybe I can create like a list of questions like these. Like instead of asking this question, ask yourself that question. Because again, the way that I'm building my business, and it will be a free resource, I wouldn't charge or anything for it, but it's about how am I going to help you, the women that I really want to help in this season in an aligned way that offers you value and impact. Because again, I'm not here to give you another copy and paste solution, another copy and paste template. I'm here to guide you to get curious about your life, ask yourself different questions, interrupt some of those patterns, and start making different actions and different moves in your life. That's what I'm here to help you do. So I have a few more questions here for you to ask yourself. Instead of asking yourself, how do I want to change my entire life? How do I want to change my life? I want to change my life. I don't want to live like this anymore. What do I do? Instead of asking yourself, because that's a big question. That is a huge question to just sit down and even try to wrap your head around. So instead of asking yourself that, ask, what's one small step that I can experiment with? And I think that's another thing that us as ambitious women really don't do. We do not like to experiment. We do not like to try things that we don't have a definite, foolproof answer for. And in order for you to, again, live your life differently, in order to change your life, in order to redesign your life differently, you have to start doing things differently. And experimenting with things is something that I'm sure you haven't done a lot of, because we're not trained to do that. We're not trained to experiment, to explore, to try new things. And if it doesn't work, try something else. And if that doesn't work, try something else. So instead of asking yourself this big, grandiose question of how do I change my life? How do I redesign my life? Ask, what's one small step that I can experiment with today? Okay. So do you see the difference in those types of questions when you're asking, when you're getting underneath that surface level of how do I do this? What do I do next? But like really going internal and asking yourself these deeper questions that only you can answer. I hope you can see the difference between that, because again, my goal is to not give you another copy and paste solution. We've had enough of that in corporate America, and we see where that has gotten us. I'm here to help guide you to get curious about your own life and ask yourself different questions about your life that only you can answer. And then that's going to help you start to open up to something different. Something different is going to start shifting, and that's going to help you start answering these questions that you have never asked yourself before. The shift is going to happen. Patterns are going to start to be interrupted, and you're going to have some more aligned action to moving forward. And if you're looking for a place to start asking yourself these more aligned questions like this, I do have my digital product, the Ambition Reset. If that's something that you're interested in, check it down in the description box, because I've said before, for me, it's never about throwing away your ambition. But for me, it was about resetting it in a way that worked for me. So I also want to say too, that while I'm giving you an invitation to ask yourself these deeper questions, you also don't have to know all of the answers. And I know that is so difficult for ambitious women like us. You don't have to have everything figured out, but just getting to a place where you're asking yourself these deeper questions and getting underneath the surface, that's already doing something different. That's already taking different steps. So it's okay if you don't know the answer to everything yet. I just want you to know that that answer is within you. It's not in the next book you're going to read, in the next Google search you're going to do, in the next thing that you enter into ChatGPT or Claude. Again, there is nothing inherently wrong with those things. It's just that we have to get away from using those things as our primary source and allow our internal, what we know about ourselves, what we're learning about ourselves, to be the primary source. Let those things be supplemental guides. Let them be supplemental resources. Allow them to give you a little bit of a direction, a little bit of a little bit of a direction. Just don't look for, I don't want to tell you what to do, but what I do know for sure is when you continue to look outwardly for things that you want to change in your life, when you continue to look outwardly for answers to the way you want to live your life, I just don't think you're ever going to find what actually fits you like, a glove. I just think we should get in the habit of using those things as resources, looking at other women as possibility models, not seeing anybody. I want to know every single way that she got to this point in her life, and then, yeah, that'll work for me. When we all know that just because something worked for her may not mean that it's going to work for you, but you can look at her as a possibility model to know that it can happen for you. It might not happen the same exact way, step by step, that it happened for her, but you can use her as a possibility model to say, yeah, I can do that too. That is possible. And that's one of the things that I just really didn't have when I was redesigning my life. I did not have a possibility model, so I had to become my own. But I want to just continue to have these types of conversations because I think that they're necessary. I think that we have all just gotten too in the weeds with consuming, reading the books, listening to the podcast, buying the planners, taking the courses. Listen, I've done it all, and I'm going to continue to do it all. But what has shifted for me is that I'm not looking to those things as my primary source of truth. What's internal to me is my source of truth. I've learned to ask myself better questions. Now I'm here trying to help guide you to ask yourself better questions. And as I continue to ask myself better questions around my business and how I want to build, things are starting to unfold, and things don't happen overnight. We know that. I've said this in other videos as well. Like, we have to start we have to stop looking for the copy and paste solutions. And we also have to stop with this microwave, just add water, like things are going to happen like that. Things take time, and a small step is still a step. A small start is still a start. Again, you don't have to have all the answers to how you're going to live your life 5 years from now, but you can ask yourself, what's one small way that I can experiment with doing something differently, moving in a way that I want to move, living my life in a way that I want to move? Like, what is one small way that I can continue to do that? And like I said before, if any of this resonates with you, please let me know down in the comments. Like this video, ask me any questions down below. Share this with another ambitious woman who you think may need it. But I believe that ambitious women have become incredibly intentional about building their careers, but not nearly as intentional about building their lives. And those are the type of conversations that I'm having here. These are the type of conversations that I will continue to have, because like I started off this video, you have become an expert at everyone else's ideas and everyone else's answers, but you have become a stranger to your own. And I think either next week or the week after is something that I have brewing behind the scenes. I'm gonna do a 4-part series on the things that I did to redesign my life. And again, I'm mapping this out, and how can I articulate it in a way that's going to help you, because I had to look over my life and just be like, what did I do? Like, again, I'm looking at this after the fact, because girl, I did not have like this 1, 2, 3 step. I had to experiment with things. I had to try things. I had to see what worked for me. But when I look at the overarching framework that I used, I definitely want to share that with you. And it's 4 big pieces to that framework. And again, I'm still mapping it out and how I want to articulate that. So stay tuned for that for sure. But let me know if any of this resonated with you. Give this video a like and start asking yourself some better questions today, even if you need to rewind and go back to that section and see how to reframe those surface level questions into more deeper questions that can help open up some answers for you to help you start moving in the direction that you want to move, and really design a life that is just as intentional as the career that you've built. I'll talk to you in the next video. Bye.